The first time she called it unsafe, I was standing in the doorway of that barn with a mug of coffee, watching the early sun spill across the pasture, the same way it had for decades. That barn had been standing longer than most of the houses in our HOA, older than the rules, older than the woman clutching a clipboard at the end of my gravel drive. She didn't even say good morning. She just sniffed the air like she could smell a violation. That structure is a hazard, she said, loud enough for my neighbor to hear. I bought this place after I retired, a quiet patch of land where I could finally breathe. The barn wasn't fancy. Weathered wood, solid beams, a metal roof. I'd replaced myself 10 years back. I used it to store tools, an old tractor, and sometimes I'd just sit inside during a rainstorm, listening to the sound hit the tin. To me, it was peace. To her, it was a problem. Within a week, I had a letter taped to my mailbox declaring the barn structurally unsound and demanding immediate remediation or removal. At first, I laughed it off. I'd built half that barn with my own hands, and the other half was built by a farmer who believed in overdoing everything. Still, the notices kept coming, each one more dramatic than the last. Potential collapse. Risk to community. Immediate action required. My neighbors started whispering. A few avoided eye contact, like my barn might fall on them if they waved. The HOA Karen, as folks quietly called her, took to patrolling past my place, stopping just long enough to take photos. The real trouble started when she'll fine me. $500 for non-compliance. I went to the HOA meeting, sat in those folding chairs under fluorescent lights, and listened while she spoke about me like I wasn't even there. She said the barn endangered property values. She said it could injure children. She said she didn't need to. Her clipboard told her everything she needed to know. I paid the fine, not because I agreed, but because I knew where this was headed. Sure enough, the next letter warned that if I didn't tear the barn down, the HOA would pursue legal action. That night, I sat at my kitchen table staring at old photographs of the property, pictures from before the HOA ever existed. I wasn't angry yet. I was stubborn, and stubborn men don't back down easily. So I made a call, not to a lawyer at first, but to the State Building Inspection Office. I figured if anyone could say whether my barn was safe, it would be them. When I told the woman on the phone what was going on, she paused and said, "Well, if they're making claims like that, you're entitled to an official inspection." We scheduled it for the following week. I didn't tell the HOA. I wanted it done clean and proper. Word somehow got out anyway. 2 days before the inspection, HOA Karen showed up again, this time with a different tone. She warned me that state inspectors were very strict and that I should consider saving myself the embarrassment. I smiled and thanked her for her concern. That smile drove her crazy. I could tell. The morning of the inspection, she parked her car across the road like she was there to witness a hanging. The inspector arrived in a white truck, a calm man in his 50s who shook my hand and actually listened. He walked the barn slowly, checked the beams, tapped the posts, climbed the ladder, and even crawled under the floor. He asked questions about when repairs were done and nodded when I showed him receipts. HOA Karen hovered nearby, arms crossed, sighing loudly. After nearly an hour, the inspector closed his notebook. HOA Karen stepped forward before he could speak. "So you agree it's unsafe?" she said, already smiling. He looked at her, then at me, and said something I'll never forget. "No ma'am, this barn is structurally sound, better built than most new ones I see." Her smile vanished so fast it was almost funny. He went on to say the barn exceeded safety standards and posed no risk to anyone. She sputtered. She tried to argue. She mentioned aesthetics, rust, age. The inspector cut her off politely and said those weren't safety issues. Then he handed me the approval form, signed and stamped. I thanked him, probably more times than necessary. As he drove away, HOA Karen stood there in silence, her clipboard suddenly useless. You'd think that would be the end of it, but people like her don't quit easily. At the next HOA meeting, she tried to spin it, claiming the approval was temporary and that rules might change. That's when I stood up and read the inspector's report aloud. Every word I reminded them that the barn predated the HOA and was grandfathered in. I reminded them that harassment was also against the bylaws. The room went quiet. Even her allies avoided her eyes.